So this dude is following us around. He's hiding, I don't know what he's doing, but he's kind of hiding his real intention for what he's doing under the term that he's a journalist. Do journalists usually follow one specific woman around on a public college campus, watching what she's doing? If you watched our latest video from the other day where we mocked CNN for their fake news coverage of Russiagate, you probably realized that it honestly wasn't that far off from how left-wing reporters write the news.
I read the cover of the Mueller report and I realized Donald Trump is Putin.
Sadly, the next generation of journalists are being raised to believe that this is how journalism works. Facts don't matter a thing. All that you need to take into account is how you feel and how you want your readers to feel. Because why worry about the truth when you can make up your own story? That is exactly what happened to me last weekend when I was invited to speak at a Second Amendment rally at Slippery Rock University. The student newspaper was in attendance to cover the rally, but when the event went swimmingly well instead of how they had hoped, the writers decided they needed to make up their own story instead. Slippery Rock's student newspaper, The Rocket, decided to fabricate lie after lie about myself and InfoWars. Articles like this, of course, aren't out of the norm, unfortunately. But what's most alarming is that these are not establishment hacks covering their donors' rear ends, but are journalism students. And I think it's so disgusting that people this young are being taught that it's acceptable to make up your own story and call it journalism, instead of fact-checking and reporting on the truth. So here's the garbage article put out by the student paper, which was so bad that whoever wrote it was too scared to even put their name on it. It's titled Misfire, Inviting Hate to Campus, which is a perfect projection since the only ones hateful on their campus is them. They advertised the article on both Facebook and Twitter with the caption, "College Republicans misfire by bringing Caitlin Bennett to campus." Their first attack on me is an extremely ironic one. After prefacing who I am and what the purpose of the Second Amendment rally was for, they say, quote, "Bennett is also a reporter for InfoWars." And they put the word reporter in quotes to insult the work I've done the last half year, which I say is pretty ironic for them to do, considering they want to call themselves reporters, but then put out garbage like this. So let's move on. Providing zero citations for their claims, the author then proceeds to call InfoWars a media conspiracy organization that is facing multiple defamation lawsuits for reporting blatantly false information, which ironically is what they're doing. Then they try to allude that I misled students by pulling out the InfoWars mic to do interviews afterwards, by saying, quote, "At the rally, Bennett claimed that her presence at SRU was solely for the purpose of the Second Amendment rally. Proceeded to interview students on campus for an InfoWars video published days later." I literally wrote a tweet days before the event, quote, "Catch me this Saturday answering questions on a panel about campus carry and gun rights with SRU College Republicans at Slippery Rock in Pennsylvania. And you already know I'm bringing out the InfoWars mic for interviews on campus later." Great fact-checking, guys. After saying that it is the opinion of the Rocket that inviting a radical such as Bennett to campus showcased a disastrous lapse in judgment, they then go on to lie and say, quote, "Bennett did nothing to further the conversation and went out of her way to belittle and demean members of the audience." Now, what are they referencing when they say I went out of my way to belittle and demean members of the audience? This woman disrupted the event and discussions being had about the Second Amendment to yell at the organizers for inviting me. Watch.
Why would this organization endorse InfoWars when they're being sued by defamation for terrorizing parents who lost their children in the most brutal way? That undermines your credibility. You could have a rational conversation about the Second Amendment, but not with an organization like that on stage. That's disgusting, and you ought to be ashamed.
So what did I do? I defended myself and those who were there to engage in a civil dialogue about the Second Amendment and called the woman a coward for insulting all of us to disrupt this event for her own agenda. But to the coward who wrote this hit piece, this encounter was going out of my way to, quote, "belittle and demean members of the audience." InfoWars is not a part of this. Caitlin Bennett is a part of this. And you throw out words like disgusting and inhumane or disturbing. The only person in this room that represents that is you, because you took an opportunity to have a discussion about self-defense students, this student right here, these students on the front row, and several students in this audience to turn it into something about your feelings. And then you get up, you get your little rant going because you're so emotional you can't even ask a question, you grab your bag and leave. That is so disgusting, and it's disrespectful, and it shows that you're a coward. Next, after admitting their own bias by applauding the president of the university for saying that I shouldn't have been invited to speak on campus, they then lie about another incident that occurred that day and accuse me of harassing one of their staff members who was taking pictures of me. And by the way, the college Republicans actually reserved a seat in the front row for the university's president, but he didn't care to show up and engage in the conversation. But what actually happened? A photojournalist for The Rocket named Paris Malone was taking photos of me from a distance while I was at my car. And we expressed concerns about this to the president of the college Republicans because we didn't know what the pictures were and we didn't want our license plate out in any of their photos. Then as I began interviewing students for my usual man on the street videos, he walked closely behind me the whole time without introducing himself or telling me what he was doing. I had no idea who he was, so I asked him if he was going to follow me around all day, and he said, "Yep." Follow me around? I'm more than willing to follow. Yeah, I'm more than willing to follow. You guys want to come up here? This dude won't quit following me around. Apparently, like, if you follow women around, you can just say you're a journalist and it's okay. So, that's cool. Yeah, well, I don't follow people around. That's weird. Even after I made it clear to him that he was making me feel uncomfortable, he continued to follow me around. So this dude is following us around. He's hiding, I don't know what he's doing, but he's kind of hiding his real intention for what he's doing under the term that he's a journalist. Do journalists usually like follow one specific woman around on a public college campus, watching what she's doing? All right, he doesn't even know like what he's supposed to be doing or saying you can't like defend yourself here. Is that what I'm getting? I'll take that as a no. Okay. Like I said, I had no clue who the dude was. He never introduced himself to me, and I had no idea who he was talking to on his phone when he kept taking it out. I've been in situations before where people have taken photos of me and posted them online to urge others to come and hurt me. And you know what? After seeing the hit piece they put out on me, I feel even more strongly that I was right to feel cautious about this guy and that he might have had bad intentions. I genuinely feel like they want me to get hurt, and they've yet to make any statements saying otherwise after we've contacted the publication multiple times for comments. The next part of the article is where I really get mad. With no justification whatsoever, they called me a conspiracy theorist and a, quote, white supremacist sympathizer who uses social media to attack the survivors of school shootings. It's this part of the article that leads me to believe the staff at the Rocket wants to see me get hurt, and maybe even killed as a result of their libel. The left makes it no secret that they want to see conservatives get hurt, and they believe anyone they label a white supremacist deserves to get assaulted. Just days ago, CBS debuted a trailer for a show called The Good Fight, where they call for just this.
There's no better way to show some speech is not equal. Some speech requires a more visceral response.
In the trailer, the narrator says that not all ideas should be tolerated in public discourse. And in the Rocket's article, they say my ideology should not be welcomed anywhere. And from that, you can probably draw your own parallel about what their intentions may be. We reached out to the editor-in-chief, Eric Davies, multiple times to ask if this was his publication's intention of putting my life at risk with these false statements, and he ignored all of our emails. Meanwhile, their assistant photo editor, Jack Hopi, was liking comments on Facebook that mocked me for feeling like their libel endangers me. And by their own admission, Jack helped put out the article, since at the top it says it was, quote, produced collaboratively by the entire Rocket staff. Finally, to wrap up the article, they call me an extremist guest speaker. What a compliment. They say that I have oppressive rhetoric and seek to suppress others through bigotry and hate. And then my favorite line, they call me an enemy of human decency. All for what? Believing in the right to self-defense, not being afraid to stand up for what I believe in, empowering women to protect themselves through firearm ownership. The real extremists seeking to suppress others through bigotry and hate are the authors of this garbage article that think they can intimidate those they disagree with by making up lies about them that could get them hurt. The real fascists are the next generation of left-wing journalists who want to hide their liberal agenda under the guise of journalism in order to harass people with dissenting opinions. Whoever wrote this was so cowardly that they couldn't even attach their name to it, and instead said it was endorsed by the entire Rocket staff. Okay, so who is the entire Rocket staff? Eric Davies, Adam Zook, Oscar Mattis, Stephen Kukovich, that's an ironic one, Megan Bush, Heather Donat, Paris Malone, the creep who followed me around, Lauren Alt, Hannah Shumsky, Hope Holer, Jack Hopi, who thinks it's funny that this article could put my life at risk, and Sarah Allen. I hope your careers in journalism may be long and prosperous and that they never catch wind of the libel you put out in your college days because someone you disagreed with came to campus. It would be a real shame if they had higher standards than the steaming pile of garbage put out at Slippery Rock University. It's pretty clear that these 12 individuals have no standards at all and feel more strongly about wanting to see me hurt than wanting to have ethical careers. I'm sure your parents are real proud. Not only did we reach out to the editor-in-chief multiple times to ask for a retraction and apology for their statements, but we also emailed the chair of the communications department and the president of the university. We reached out to see if they endorse this type of behavior from their students, but unfortunately the article is still up. No retractions have been made, and no one from the Rocket or the university has gotten back to us about the matter. But you know what? Considering the Rocket's editor-in-chief is retweeting Elizabeth Warren, saying Trump obstructed justice and colluded with Russia, even after the Mueller report confirmed neither of these things happened, I can't say that I'm shocked that he is okay with putting out fake news on his own publication. This is how the next generation of CNN writers are made. Reporting fake news is not only accepted at top media conglomerates, but is evidently the norm in universities as well. Move over, Brian Stelter, because there's a young journalist named Paris Malone looking to take your spot one day.
Mueller, just the name Mueller, has come to mean so many different things in America.
You need some turbo force or something to get your head straight. Brain force? You need some brain force? All right, go to InfoWarsStore.com to get brain force. If your loved one is acting like this, they have Trump derangement syndrome. And we can solve that at InfoWarsStore.com.